I sat at the center table of the Sterling room, surrounded by my mother's friends and our family, watching Patricia Hartley stand up with a champagne glass in her perfectly manicured hand. At 65, she still commanded every room she entered. Her smile was pure victory as she looked directly at me. "I have an announcement," she said, her voice carrying across the silent restaurant. "I'm cutting you out of the will." The guests gasped. Some looked away. Others stared at me, waiting for tears that wouldn't come. Instead, I smiled calmly and said, "That doesn't matter anymore, Mom, because I already own everything you think is yours." Her face went pale. This wasn't how tonight was supposed to go for her. 3 months before that moment, I received a phone call that made my stomach turn. "Morgan, we need to have a family meeting. Be at the house Saturday at 2 o'clock sharp." My mother's voice was ice cold, the same tone she'd used my entire life when summoning me like an employee rather than a daughter. I was 32 years old, the chief financial officer of our family company, and she still treated me like I was 10. I almost said no. Almost. But then I thought of Harper, my 24-year-old sister, and how cutting off contact with our mother meant cutting off contact with her too. Harper was still trapped in Patricia's web, still trying to earn love that would never come. So I agreed. That Saturday, I drove to the massive colonial house in Connecticut where I'd grown up. Every brick of that place held a memory of not being good enough. I parked in the circular driveway and walked through the front door without knocking. The house still smelled the same, like expensive candles trying to cover up something rotten underneath. They were waiting in the living room. Patricia sat in her usual throne-like armchair. My brother Ethan, 36 and perpetually smug, lounged on the sofa with his wife Jessica perched beside him like a decorator's accessory. Harper sat in the corner, her eyes already apologetic. "Sit down, Morgan," Patricia commanded. I remained standing. She pursed her lips but continued. "I've made a decision about the future of Hartley Properties. Ethan will be taking over as CEO." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd worked at that company for 10 years. Started as an intern despite being the owner's daughter, worked my way up through every department, earned my CFO position through 70-hour weeks, and brilliant financial strategies that had tripled our portfolio value. Ethan had only returned to the company 2 years ago, after his own business venture collapsed spectacularly. "You're joking," I said. "I don't joke about business," Patricia replied. "You're simply not leadership material, Morgan. You're too soft, too emotional. You second-guess yourself. Ethan has the confidence this company needs." Ethan didn't even have the decency to look uncomfortable. He sat there, his expensive watch catching the light, a slight smile playing at his lips. Jessica whispered something to him, and they both glanced at me with poorly concealed amusement. "I've been CFO for 4 years," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I've increased our revenue by 43%. I've negotiated deals that saved us millions." "What has Ethan done besides run his last company into the ground?" "That's enough," Patricia snapped. "This decision is final. You'll continue as CFO, reporting to Ethan. Be grateful you still have a position at all." Harper caught my eye, shaking her head slightly. "Don't fight," her expression said. "It'll only make things worse." She was right. Fighting with Patricia was like arguing with a brick wall, except the wall eventually got bored and walked away. Patricia just kept going until you broke. I left without another word, but as I reached my car, I heard footsteps behind me. Harper rushed out, grabbing my hand. "I'm so sorry," she said. I tried to talk to her, but she wouldn't listen. "It's not your fault," I told her, hugging my sister close. "It never is." Harper pulled back, glancing nervously at the house. "Morgan, there's something else. I overheard Mom and Ethan talking yesterday. They're planning something worse." She lowered her voice to barely a whisper. "They want to get you fired from the company next month. They're going to accuse you of embezzlement, claim you've been stealing from the accounts. Ethan said it would give Mom a legitimate reason to cut you out of the family completely." My blood turned to ice. This wasn't just about the CEO position. This was about destroying everything I'd built, everything I was. They wanted to take my reputation, my career, my entire future. "Are you sure?" I asked. Harper nodded, tears in her eyes. I heard them laughing about it. "Ethan said you'd never see it coming because you're too trusting." She squeezed my hands. "Please be careful." I don't know what they're planning exactly, but it's bad. I drove home in a daze, my hands shaking on the wheel. By the time I reached my apartment in downtown Hartford, I'd made a decision. If they wanted to destroy me, I needed to know exactly what I was up against. I needed to understand the full scope of their plan. And I needed ammunition to fight back. Monday morning, I sat in a small office across from Dylan Cole, a former FBI investigator turned private detective. He was 42, with graying hair and eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything. "Let me get this straight," Dylan said, leaning back in his chair. "You want me to investigate your own mother and brother for potential fraud and conspiracy?" "Yes," I said firmly. "I need to know what they're planning. I need documentation of everything they've done wrong at the company, and I need it fast." Dylan studied me for a long moment. "This kind of investigation into family finances gets messy. You might not like what I find." "I need to know the truth," I replied, "whatever it is." He named his fee, $50,000, half up front. It was most of my savings, money I'd been setting aside for years. But what good was money if I lost everything else? I wrote the check. 2 weeks crawled by like months. I went to work every day, smiled at Ethan as he started throwing his weight around, preparing for his CEO role. I attended meetings where he contradicted my financial recommendations with suggestions that made no economic sense. I watched Patricia visit the office, beaming at her golden child, while barely acknowledging my existence. Then Dylan called. "I've got something. You need to see this in person." I met him at a coffee shop far from anywhere I might run into family or colleagues. He slid a folder across the table. My hands trembled as I opened it. The first documents were bank statements from company accounts. Highlighted in yellow were transfers, dozens of them, each for amounts just under $10,000 to avoid automatic federal reporting. They totaled over $3 million over the past year. "Ethan's been siphoning money from the company," Dylan explained quietly. "Small amounts, irregular timing, routed through shell corporations before ending up in his personal accounts. From there, he's been gambling. Las Vegas, Atlantic City, offshore betting sites. He's lost most of it." I felt sick. "Does my mother know?" Dylan flipped to another section. "That's where it gets interesting. Look at these authorization forms." I stared at signatures I recognized. Patricia's neat, precise handwriting approving transfers, dates that went back over a year. "She knows," Dylan confirmed. "She's been authorizing it. But here's the kicker." He pulled out another document. "They've been preparing to blame you. These are forged authorization forms with your signature. When the money is eventually discovered missing, they're going to claim you approved the transfers." My vision blurred. This was worse than Harper had warned. They weren't just planning to accuse me of embezzlement. They were creating evidence to prove it. "There's more," Dylan said grimly. "I found email correspondence between your mother and Ethan discussing the setup. They're planning to discover the missing money the week after next. Your mother has already contacted a forensic accountant who, for a generous fee, will testify that the signature analysis points to you." "This is insane," I whispered. "She's my mother." "She's a woman who sees you as a threat," Dylan corrected. "I've seen this before in family businesses. Power and money make people do terrible things." I spent the rest of the day in my apartment, reading through everything Dylan had found. But it was his final discovery that changed everything. He'd kept digging into the company's history and found something buried in old county records. The original articles of incorporation for Hartley Properties, filed 37 years ago, listed the owner as Robert Hartley, my father. When Dad died 5 years ago from a sudden heart attack, I'd been too grief-stricken to pay attention to the legal details. Patricia had handled everything, assured us it was all taken care of. But Dylan had found something Patricia thought was buried forever. In a dusty file at the county clerk's office, he discovered a copy of my father's actual will, filed for probate, but then mysteriously withdrawn. In it, Dad had left Hartley Properties equally to his 3 children, Ethan, Morgan, and Harper. Each of us was supposed to own 1/3 of the company. "How is my mother running the company if this is Dad's will?" I asked Dylan over the phone. "Because this isn't the will that was probated," he said. I checked. The will that went through probate left everything to your mother as the surviving spouse, with provisions that she could distribute assets as she saw fit. That will was dated 2 weeks before your father's death. But this one is dated 6 months before that, I said, studying the document. Exactly. Which means someone made your father write a new will right before he died, or they forged it entirely. I did some checking on the lawyer who handled the probate, George Brennan. He's been reprimanded twice by the state bar for ethical violations. And guess who's been paying him a generous monthly retainer for the past 5 years? My mother, I breathed. Got it in one. I think your mother, probably with Brennan's help, forged a second will and destroyed the original. Or convinced your father to change it when he was sick, maybe told him it was just updating some tax language. Either way, she's been running a company that legally belongs to you and your siblings. I sat down hard, my legs suddenly unable to support me. Everything I'd believed about my father's death, about the inheritance, about Patricia's control of the company, was built on fraud. Can we prove it? I asked. The county clerk's copy is proof the original will existed, Dylan said. But we'd need the actual original document or testimony from Brennan to make it stick in court. And Brennan isn't going to voluntarily confess to a felony. I thanked Dylan and hung up. My mind raced. Patricia had stolen my father's company. She'd stolen my inheritance and my siblings' inheritances. And now she was planning to frame me for crimes she and Ethan were committing. The woman I'd spent my whole life trying to please, trying to earn love from, was a monster. And I was done being her victim. I spent the next week planning my counterattack. First, I contacted a lawyer specializing in estate law, Amanda Price. She was 38, sharp as a blade, and known for taking on powerful families. Amanda reviewed everything Dylan had found. This is solid, she said. The forged will is grounds for invalidating the probate. If we can prove the original will's authenticity and show that your mother deliberately hid it, we can get the company transferred to its rightful owners. How long will that take? I asked. Months, maybe a year if they fight it. And they will fight it. Amanda leaned forward. Here's what I recommend. We file the petition to invalidate the probate quietly. We don't tell anyone, not even your sister, until we're ready. If your mother gets wind of this, she'll destroy whatever evidence still exists. My mother's birthday is in 2 weeks, I said slowly. She's having a big party at the Sterling Room. The whole social circle will be there, all her business associates, everyone who matters to her. Amanda raised an eyebrow. You want to go public then? I want her to feel exactly what she's made me feel my entire life, I said. Humiliation, powerlessness. I want everyone to know what she really is. Amanda nodded slowly. Risky, but effective. We'll need to time everything perfectly. 1 week before Patricia's birthday, everything fell apart. I was at home, reviewing the evidence one more time, when my phone rang. Patricia's name flashed on the screen. My hand hovered over it. Something felt wrong. I answered. I know you've been snooping around, Morgan. Her voice could have frozen fire. Dylan Cole? Really? You think I don't have eyes everywhere? My stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence, she snapped. George Brennan called me. Apparently, someone's been asking questions about your father's will. It wasn't hard to trace it back to your little private investigator. I said nothing, my mind racing. Brennan had betrayed me. Of course he had. He was Patricia's creature. Here's what's going to happen, Patricia continued, her voice deadly calm. You're going to fire Dylan Cole immediately. You're going to destroy whatever evidence he gave you. And you're going to keep your mouth shut about anything you think you've discovered. And if I don't, I challenged, then Harper's academic career is over. I've already had a conversation with the dean of her law school. I donate generously to that institution. 1 word from me about concerns regarding Harper's family's integrity, and she'll be expelled. She's in her final year, Morgan. 1 semester away from graduation. Are you really going to destroy your sister's future over some paranoid conspiracy theories? The threat hit like a punch to the gut. Harper had worked so hard to get into that law school. It was her dream, her escape route from our family's toxicity. You wouldn't, I said, but I knew she would. You have 24 hours, Patricia said. Fire Dylan, destroy the evidence, or Harper pays the price. She hung up. I immediately called Harper, told her about the threat. She came to my apartment within the hour, her face pale. Don't sacrifice yourself for me, Harper said, grabbing my hands. I can handle, Mom. I can handle being kicked out of school. I'll go somewhere else. You're 3 months from graduating, I said. I can't let her destroy that. She's going to destroy you if you back down, Harper insisted. Don't you see? This is how she wins. She threatens the people we love until we cave. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't let Harper's dreams die because of me. I called Dylan, told him to pause the investigation. He tried to argue. If you stop now, they win, Dylan said. And Morgan, listen to me carefully. They're going to destroy you anyway. The threat against your sister is just to buy them time to cover their tracks. I need to think, I said, and ended the call. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Harper's face, kept imagining having to tell her that her law school career was over because of me. But I also kept seeing the evidence of what Patricia and Ethan had done. The stolen company, the embezzlement, the plan to frame me. At 2 a.m, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw nothing, but there was a package on my doorstep. No return address, no markings. I brought it inside carefully, half expecting it to explode. Instead, I found a USB drive. I plugged it into my laptop with shaking hands. There was one file, an audio recording, dated 2 days ago. I hit play. Patricia's voice filled my speakers. After the birthday party, we'll file the embezzlement charges against Morgan. I've already paid off the auditor. The evidence is airtight. Ethan's voice. What about Harper? Morgan might have told her about the investigation. Harper is too weak to do anything. Once Morgan is arrested and facing prison time, Harper will fall in line. She always does. We'll control everything, and neither of them will ever challenge us again. The recording continued. They discussed the forged signatures in detail. Patricia laughed about how I'd spent years trying to earn her approval while she'd been planning my destruction the whole time. Ethan talked about the offshore account where they'd been moving the embezzled money, $5 million in the Cayman Islands. $5 million. I'd thought it was $3 million. It was so much worse than I knew. The recording ended. I sat in stunned silence. They'd never intended to spare Harper. The threat was just a manipulation tactic, a way to neutralize me while they finished setting up the frame. I didn't know who sent the recording, but I knew what I had to do. I called Dylan back. The investigation is back on. Full speed. I need everything you can find, and I need it before her birthday party. Now you're talking, Dylan said. I'll get you what you need. I didn't sleep for the next 3 days. Between my regular CFO duties, where I had to pretend everything was normal, I coordinated with Dylan for the final pieces of evidence. I also reached out to a journalist named Rachel Martinez, 41, who worked for a major Connecticut newspaper and specialized in exposing corporate fraud. Rachel met me at a quiet diner outside the city. I gave her copies of some of the documents, enough to pique her interest without revealing everything. This is explosive, Rachel said, flipping through the papers. But I'll need corroboration. I can't publish based solely on documents from a private investigator, especially when you're family. It looks like a vendetta. I'll get you more, I promised. Just hold the story until after my mother's birthday party. I want to confront her publicly first. Rachel agreed. We set up a secure communication channel, and I sent her additional evidence over the next few days. Meanwhile, I did something risky. I still had full access to the company's computer systems as CFO. Late at night, after everyone else had gone home, I downloaded every financial record from the past 7 years. Every transaction, every approval form, every email in the company's server. I backed it up to multiple secure cloud accounts and gave copies to both Dylan and Amanda Price. While searching through the files, I found more evidence of Ethan's theft. He'd been even busier than Dylan had discovered. Beyond the gambling, Ethan had created shell companies to buy properties from Hartley Properties at below-market prices, then immediately resold them for huge profits. The losses to our family company totaled nearly $8 million when everything was added up. But I also found something that made my blood run cold. Ethan had been selling client information to competitors. Names, financial details, investment strategies. Everything that should have been confidential. He'd made over $200,000 from these information sales. This wasn't just theft. It was a betrayal of every client who trusted our company. I was documenting one of these sales when my office door opened. I jumped, quickly minimizing the screen. Ethan stood in the doorway. Working late? He asked, his tone casual but his eyes suspicious. Just finishing the quarterly reports, I lied, keeping my voice steady. He walked closer, glancing at my computer screen. You seem stressed lately. Everything okay? Everything's fine, I said. Good. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You know, Morgan, I've been thinking. When I take over as CEO next month, I'm going to need a CFO I can really trust. Someone who's on the same page with my vision. The threat was clear. I was going to be fired, just like Harper had warned. I'm sure you'll find the right person, I said evenly. Ethan left, but I knew time was running out. They were accelerating their timeline. I worked faster. The next morning, I arrived at the office to find Patricia and Ethan waiting in the conference room with two lawyers I didn't recognize. Sit down, Morgan, Patricia commanded. I sat, my heart pounding. Effective immediately, you're suspended from all duties pending an investigation of financial misconduct, Patricia announced. Ethan slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts of transactions, all bearing what looked like my signature. The forged authorizations Dylan had warned me about. These show you've been embezzling from company accounts, Ethan said, his voice dripping with false concern. We're shocked, Morgan. Truly shocked. Those signatures are forged, I said clearly, for the record. I never authorized any of those transactions. We'll let the investigators determine that, Patricia said coldly. In the meantime, you're to surrender your company badge, your computer access, and any company property. Security will escort you from the building. 2 security guards appeared at the door. I recognized them, men I'd known for years, and the shame on their faces told me they'd been given some story about me being a thief. I walked out of that building with everyone watching. Colleagues I'd worked alongside for a decade, people who'd celebrated my promotions and successes, now looked at me like I was a criminal. My badge was taken, my parking spot cleared. Even my personal items from my office were packed into a box and handed to me at the exit like I might steal the stapler. I drove home in a daze, but when I got there, things got worse. I tried to buy groceries that evening, and my credit card was declined. Then another. I checked my banking app and my stomach plummeted. My accounts had been frozen due to suspicious activity. Someone had reported me to the bank. I called the bank's fraud department. There's a federal investigation flag on your account, Miss Hartley, the representative explained. We can't provide access until it's cleared. Patricia had used her connections to freeze my assets. I had maybe $300 in cash in my apartment. Everything else was locked away. My phone rang. It was Amanda Price, my lawyer. Morgan, I'm sorry, but my firm can't continue representing you, she said, and I could hear the regret in her voice. We've been informed that representing you would constitute a conflict of interest with other clients. Let me guess, I said bitterly. Patricia got to your managing partner. I'm not at liberty to say. I'm sorry. I'll recommend some other attorneys who might be able to help. But we both knew that anyone Patricia could intimidate wouldn't take my case. She was too powerful, too connected. I sat in my apartment that night, the walls closing in. No job, no money, no lawyer. The party was in 3 days, and I was completely isolated. Then my phone buzzed with an email. The subject line read, "You're not alone." I opened it. The sender was anonymous, but the message was clear. Check your doorstep. I found another package. Inside was a burner phone and a note. Call the only number programmed. Midnight. Come alone. At midnight, I stood in a parking garage 3 blocks from my apartment, the burner phone pressed to my ear. Rain pounded the concrete around me. Miss Hartley, a male voice said. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm a special agent with the FBI, White Collar Crimes Division. My breath caught. The FBI? We've been investigating Hartley Properties for 6 months, Marcus continued. Financial irregularities flagged by federal banking monitors. We know about the embezzlement, the forged documents, the offshore accounts, and we know you're not the one behind it. Then why haven't you arrested them? I demanded. We need an airtight case. People like your mother have expensive lawyers who can tear apart anything less than perfect evidence. We've been building our case carefully. He paused. But we're aware that they're trying to frame you. We can't let that happen. Can you stop them? We can protect you from the criminal charges. But we need your cooperation. and we need you to trust us for 3 more days. Why 3 days? Because your mother's birthday party is the perfect opportunity. She'll be surrounded by witnesses. If we move before then, she'll claim harassment, tie us up in court for years. But if we wait until she publicly accuses you, and then we present evidence that she's the real criminal, it's devastating to her reputation, her social standing, everything she values. You want me to let her humiliate me in front of everyone? I asked. I want you to let her think she's won, right before we take it all away, Marcus corrected. Can you do that? I thought about it. 3 more days of torture. 3 more days of being isolated and broke. But then, justice. Yes, I said. I can do that. Good. We'll have agents at the party. When the time is right, we'll move. But Morgan, there's something you should know. Your mother is dangerous. We have evidence suggesting she's been involved in more than just financial crimes. What do you mean? There was an incident yesterday. A journalist named Rachel Martinez was in a serious car accident. Brake failure. She's in intensive care. My blood turned to ice. Rachel was working on my story. We know, and we're investigating whether it was truly an accident. All her notes and evidence from her office disappeared. Someone got to her, Morgan. Your mother has connections to some very dangerous people. I felt sick. Rachel had been helping me, and now she was fighting for her life. There's one more thing, Marcus said. We tracked down George Brennan, the lawyer who helped forge your father's will. He's willing to testify in exchange for immunity. He's been under your mother's thumb for years, and he's finally ready to break free. Where is he? I asked. Safe house. But he's terrified. Says your mother has threatened his family. We're protecting him, but he's not wrong to be scared. The next morning, I woke up to find an eviction notice taped to my door. My landlord claimed I was 3 months behind on rent, which was a lie. I'd always paid on time. But when I tried to show proof from my frozen bank accounts, I couldn't access them. Patricia was systematically destroying my life. I called my best friend Claire Thompson, who I'd known since college. Can I stay with you for a few days? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. Of course, Claire said immediately. What happened? I told her everything while packing my belongings into garbage bags since I couldn't afford boxes. Claire picked me up an hour later, took one look at me, and pulled me into a fierce hug. We're going to get through this, she promised. That afternoon, Harper called me crying. The dean called me into his office. He said there are serious concerns about my family's integrity. He mentioned you being investigated for embezzlement. Morgan, they're going to expel me. No, I said firmly. They're not. Harper, I need you to trust me. Can you hold on for 2 more days? What's happening in 2 days? Mom's party. And everything changes. But I need you to be there. I need you to stand with me. There was a long pause. Then, okay. I trust you. That evening, Dylan came to Claire's apartment with one final piece of evidence. I found him, Dylan said. George Brennan. He's ready to talk to you. We met in an underground parking garage, like something out of a spy movie. George was 53, balding, sweating despite the cool air. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I can't do this anymore, George said, his hands shaking as he pulled documents from his briefcase. Patricia Hartley has controlled my life for 5 years. Every time I tried to get out, she threatened to expose other things I've done, to ruin me, but I'm done. I can't watch her destroy another innocent person. He handed me a file. Inside was the original copy of my father's will, the real one, not the forgery. The paper was yellowed with age, but the signatures were clear. Robert Hartley had left Hartley properties equally to his 3 children. I kept this as insurance, George admitted. I knew someday Patricia might turn on me, so I kept proof of what we did. This is the original. I swapped it out before filing the fake one for probate. Why are you giving this to me now? I asked. Because I heard what she did to that journalist. The car accident. George's voice cracked. I thought I was just helping someone avoid estate taxes. Then it became forging documents. Then it became helping her steal from her own children. But attempted murder? I draw the line. I have grandchildren, Miss Hartley. I can't look them in the eye knowing I'm part of this. He also gave me recordings. Hours of conversations between him and Patricia over the years, discussing the forgery, discussing how to hide the embezzlement, discussing how to frame me. The FBI already has copies of everything, George said. I'm testifying. I just wanted you to have this too. You deserve to know the truth about what she did to your father's legacy. As George was leaving, his phone rang. He looked at the screen and went pale. It's her, he whispered. Don't answer, Dylan advised. But George was shaking his head. If I don't, she'll know something's wrong. She'll run. Or worse, he answered, putting it on speaker. George, Patricia's voice slithered through the phone. I need you to do something for me. That investigator, Dylan Cole. I want him discouraged from pursuing this any further. Use your connections. What kind of discouragement are we talking about? George asked, his voice remarkably steady. Whatever it takes. He's becoming a liability, just like that journalist was. There it was, Patricia Hartley, on recording, essentially admitting to going after Rachel Martinez. I'll take care of it, George said and hung up. He looked at me with haunted eyes. I've been recording our calls for 3 months. Every threat, every illegal order. The FBI has it all. She's going to prison, Miss Hartley. I'm going to make sure of it. 2 days. I just had to survive 2 more days. But that night, as I lay on Claire's couch trying to sleep, I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Harper walking to class, clearly taken that day. Below it, a message. Accidents can happen to anyone. Back off, or your sister is next. I called Marcus Webb immediately. They're threatening Harper. We're already on it, Marcus assured me. We've had plainclothes agents watching your sister since yesterday. She's safe. This is Patricia getting desperate. Just hang on. Tomorrow night, this all ends. Tomorrow night, Patricia's 65th birthday party. The night I'd either get justice or lose everything. I didn't sleep at all. The Sterling room glittered with crystal chandeliers and the soft glow of candlelight. I stood outside the private dining room, smoothing down the simple black dress I'd borrowed from Claire. Through the glass doors, I could see Patricia holding court, resplendent in designer silk, surrounded by Connecticut's elite. Ethan and Jessica stood nearby, drinks in hand, laughing at something a judge was saying. My hands shook. Marcus Webb's voice echoed in my head from our final briefing that morning. We'll have agents positioned as waitstaff and guests. When you give the signal, we move. But Morgan, you have to let her make the accusation first. We need her to publicly commit to the lie before we expose the truth. I pushed open the doors. The room fell silent as I entered. 40 pairs of eyes turned to stare. I heard whispers. That's the daughter who embezzled. I heard she stole millions. The shame Patricia must feel. Patricia's face registered shock, then fury, then calculated pleasure. Morgan, she said, her voice carrying across the room. I'm surprised you had the nerve to show up. I wouldn't miss your birthday for anything, Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady. I found Harper in the crowd. She gave me a tiny nod of encouragement. I took a seat at the family table. Ethan leaned over and whispered, You're making this worse for yourself. Just leave. No, I said simply. Dinner was torture. I pushed food around my plate while conversation flowed around me. People pointedly avoided speaking to me. Patricia made sure of it, directing attention away whenever anyone seemed curious. After the main course, Patricia stood up. She tapped her champagne glass with a fork, and the room fell silent. Thank you all for celebrating with me tonight, she began, her smile warm and gracious. 65 years. It seems impossible, doesn't it? But I'm so grateful to be surrounded by friends and family. Her eyes landed on me, and the warmth vanished. Although, this year has taught me some difficult lessons about family, about trust, about betrayal. She paused for effect. Some of you may have heard rumors about problems at Hartley Properties. I'm here to tell you that those rumors are true. Someone has been embezzling from the company. Someone I trusted implicitly. Gasps around the room. Everyone looked at me. It breaks my heart to say this, but the evidence is clear. My daughter Morgan has been stealing from the family company for years. The authorities are investigating, and I've been told charges are imminent. More gasps. Shocked faces. A few people actually stood up, as if they couldn't bear to be in the same room with me. Therefore, Patricia continued, I've made the painful decision to cut Morgan out of my will entirely. She's proven herself unworthy of the Hartley name. Everything will go to Ethan, my only worthy child. Ethan stood up, playing his part perfectly. He walked over and embraced Patricia. Mom, I know this is hard for you. Jessica dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, fake tears glistening. Patricia looked at me triumphantly. Do you have anything to say for yourself, Morgan? This was it. The moment. I stood up slowly. Yes, actually, I do. I smiled calmly. That doesn't matter anymore, Mom, because I already own everything you think is yours. The silence was deafening. Patricia laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. You're delusional. No, Mom. I'm the legal owner of Hartley Properties, along with Ethan and Harper. Dad left the company to all three of us equally in his real will. I pulled out the document George had given me and held it up. This is Robert Hartley's actual last will and testament, dated 6 months before he died. In it, he specifically leaves Hartley Properties to be split equally among his 3 children. Patricia's face went white. That's a forgery. No, your will is the forgery, and I can prove it. I looked at the crowd. My mother, with the help of her lawyer, George Brennan, forged a second will and destroyed the original. She's been running a company that legally belongs to me and my siblings for 5 years. This is slander, Patricia hissed. Security, remove her. I don't think so. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the room's speaker system. The restaurant had been very accommodating when I'd explained I wanted to play a birthday message. I have something everyone should hear. I played the recording. Patricia's voice filled the room. After the birthday party, we'll file the embezzlement charges against Morgan. I've already paid off the auditor. Ethan's voice. What about Harper? Patricia. Once Morgan is in jail, Harper will fall in line. We'll control everything. The room exploded in shocked murmurs. I played more. Patricia and George discussing the forged will. Patricia and Ethan laughing about framing me. Patricia ordering George to discourage Dylan Cole. You ungrateful little. Patricia started toward me, but 2 men in suits stepped forward. Patricia Hartley, Marcus Webb said, showing his FBI badge. I'm Special Agent Webb. You're under investigation for fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and attempted murder. We need you to come with us. Another agent approached Ethan. Ethan Hartley, you're also under investigation. Ethan tried to run. Seriously. He actually tried to bolt for the door, but 2 more agents were there. They grabbed him, and he started shouting, "This is entrapment! I want my lawyer!" I walked to the front of the room and connected my laptop to the projector screen. Since we're all here, let me show you what else I found. I displayed the financial records. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell companies, documented transfers showing Ethan had stolen over $8 million from Hartley Properties. He's also been selling client information to competitors, I added. Names, investment details, proprietary strategies, everything you trusted us with. The clients in the room looked horrified. Several were already pulling out their phones, presumably calling their lawyers. Jessica started crying. Real tears this time. I didn't know, she wailed. Ethan told me the money was from bonuses. Harper stood up and walked over to stand beside me. She took my hand, squeezing it tight. Patricia stared at me with pure hatred. You've destroyed this family. No, Mom, I said quietly. You did that. I'm just telling the truth. Marcus Webb stepped forward. Miss Hartley, we have evidence linking you to the suspicious car accident involving journalist Rachel Martinez. Her brake lines were cut. We have footage of a man you hired entering the parking garage where her car was kept. Patricia's face went ashen. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. You tried to kill someone? A woman gasped. Patricia, how could you? Another voice called out. One by one, people began leaving. Patricia's so-called friends, her social circle, everyone she'd spent decades cultivating relationships with. They left her standing there, isolated. A waiter, actually an FBI agent, approached Ethan with handcuffs. Sir, we need you to come with us for questioning. Read him his rights, Marcus instructed. As they led Ethan away, he looked at me with such venom that I actually stepped back. You'll regret this, he spat. When I get out, you'll regret this. Mr. Hartley, Marcus said calmly, Given the evidence we have, you're looking at 8 to 10 years minimum. I'd suggest you spend that time reflecting on your choices rather than making threats." Patricia stood frozen, watching her perfect world crumble. The restaurant staff were clearing tables, eager to end the evening. Guests hurried out, avoiding eye contact with her. Finally, she looked at me. For just a moment, I saw something in her eyes. Not remorse. Never remorse. But recognition. Recognition that she'd underestimated me, and it had cost her everything. "I should have gotten rid of you years ago," she said softly. "Probably," I agreed. "But you didn't. You thought you could control me forever. You were wrong." Marcus Webb approached Patricia. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come to our field office for questioning." "Am I under arrest?" she demanded. "Not yet, but I strongly suggest you cooperate." Patricia looked around the now empty room one last time. Then, with her head held high, she walked out flanked by FBI agents. Harper and I stood alone in the wreckage of the party. Overturned chairs, half-empty glasses, abandoned birthday cake. "Is it really over?" Harper asked. "The legal part is just beginning," I said. "But yeah, the worst is over." Harper hugged me tightly. "Thank you for protecting me, for being brave enough to fight back." "We protected each other," I corrected. Claire appeared in the doorway. "The FBI agent said we can go. You two okay?" "We will be," I said. As we left the Sterling room, I looked back one more time. This was supposed to be Patricia's triumphant night, her public execution of her disappointing daughter. Instead, it was the night justice finally caught up with her. 2 weeks after the party, I sat in a courtroom watching Patricia and Ethan be formally arraigned. The charges were extensive. For Patricia, fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, embezzlement, witness tampering, and conspiracy to commit murder regarding Rachel Martinez. For Ethan, embezzlement, money laundering, fraud, and conspiracy. Both pleaded not guilty, of course. Their lawyers, expensive ones paid for by liquidating personal assets, argued that the evidence was circumstantial, that I had fabricated everything out of spite. But the evidence was overwhelming. George Brennan testified for 3 hours, detailing every crime he'd helped commit. The FBI had forensic accountants who traced every stolen dollar. They had the forged will, the original will, and testimony from the county clerk who remembered Patricia pressuring her to lose certain documents 5 years ago. The trial took 3 months. Every day, I sat in that courtroom, facing my mother across the aisle. She never looked at me, not once. It was as if I didn't exist. Harper sat beside me every single day, her hand in mine. She'd withdrawn from law school temporarily to support me through the trial, despite my protests. "Family first," she'd said. "Real family." The jury deliberated for 4 days. When they returned, the verdict was swift and brutal. Guilty on all counts. Patricia's face remained frozen as the judge read the sentence. 12 years in federal prison. Ethan got 8 years. Jessica, who'd cooperated and testified about what she knew, received a suspended sentence and probation. I felt no joy as they led my mother away in handcuffs. Just a deep, exhausted sadness for what could have been if she'd chosen love over control. The civil case regarding the will was simpler. With the criminal convictions as evidence, the judge invalidated the forged will and reinstated Robert Hartley's actual last will and testament. Hartley properties legally belonged to Morgan, Ethan, and Harper Hartley in equal shares. Since Ethan was incarcerated and his shares were held in a trust pending legal resolution, Harper and I made an offer to buy him out. With the FBI's recovery of the stolen $8 million, plus the liquidation of Ethan's assets to pay restitution, we had the funds. Ethan, facing massive legal bills and needing money for appeals, accepted. 6 months after that terrible birthday party, I walked into Hartley Properties as its CEO. Harper, who'd returned to law school and graduated top of her class, joined as general counsel. Our first act was firing everyone who'd helped Patricia cover up the fraud. Our second was implementing transparent financial controls and regular independent audits. Our third was reaching out to every client who'd had their information sold and offering them free security monitoring for life. It cost us. Some clients left anyway, too damaged by the betrayal. But others stayed, appreciating our honesty and efforts to make things right. Slowly, painfully, we rebuilt. I visited Patricia in prison once, 3 months into her sentence. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I hoped she'd finally see me as something other than a disappointment. She refused to see me. The guard delivered her message. I have no daughter named Morgan. It hurt. Even knowing everything she'd done, it hurt. Harper held me while I cried in the prison parking lot. She doesn't deserve your tears, Harper said fiercely. She never deserved you. I know, I said, but she's still my mother. No, Harper corrected gently. She's the woman who gave birth to you. A mother is someone who loves you. Patricia never did, but I do, and Dad did, and Claire does. You have family, Morgan. Real family. She was right. Ethan sent me a letter from prison a year into his sentence. It was 6 pages long, filled with excuses and justifications. He claimed Patricia had manipulated him since childhood, that he'd never wanted to hurt me, that he was a victim too. Maybe there was some truth in it. Patricia had twisted all of us in different ways. But Ethan was an adult who'd made choices. He'd chosen greed. He'd chosen to hurt me. He'd laughed while planning my destruction. I didn't respond to his letter. But I didn't hate him either. I just felt nothing. He was a stranger who happened to share my DNA. I started therapy to deal with the trauma of my childhood and the events of the past year. Dr. Sarah Williams, my therapist, helped me understand that I'd spent 32 years seeking approval from someone incapable of giving it. Your mother is a narcissist, Dr. Williams explained. She saw you as an extension of herself, not as a separate person. When you didn't reflect the image she wanted, she tried to destroy you. How do I stop wanting her love? I asked. You already have, Dr. Williams said gently. You wanted the love of a mother who doesn't exist. The real Patricia Hartley is incapable of maternal love. Once you accept that, the grief can begin. You're mourning the mother you deserved but never had. It took time, a lot of time, but slowly, I healed. Claire remained my best friend through everything. She was there for every breakdown, every victory, every moment of doubt. You're the strongest person I know, she told me once. I'm not strong, I said. I'm just stubborn. That's what strength is, she laughed, refusing to give up even when everything says you should. Dylan Cole became a consultant for Hartley Properties, helping us improve our security and fraud detection. He never charged his full rate. You gave me the case of a lifetime, he said. I should be paying you. Rachel Martinez recovered from her injuries, though it took months of physical therapy. She wrote a Pulitzer-nominated series about corruption in family businesses, using our story as the centerpiece. She changed names and details to protect privacy, but the truth shone through. Your courage helped me find mine, Rachel told me. I could have died, but I didn't, and now I can make sure this story helps others. Her articles sparked investigations into dozens of other family businesses. 3 CEOs were arrested. 17 companies implemented new oversight procedures. Real change happened. A year and a half after the trial, Harper and I stood in the office that had once been Patricia's. We'd redecorated completely, removing every trace of her cold, austere style. Now it was warm, with plants and family photos and artwork from local artists. Dad would be so proud of us, Harper said, touching the photo of our father we'd hung on the wall. I hope so, I said. I wish he could see what we've built. He can, Harper said. I believe that. Hartley Properties wasn't just surviving. It was thriving. Our revenue was up 37%. We'd hired 50 new employees. We'd launched an ethical business initiative that other companies were copying. We'd turned our family's darkest shame into something meaningful. I still had hard days. Days when I wondered if I'd done the right thing by destroying my family. Days when I missed the fantasy of having a loving mother. Days when the weight of everything felt crushing. But then I'd look around at what we'd built. Harper, healthy and happy, using her law degree to fight for justice. Our employees, treated fairly and paid well. Our clients, trusting us again. The community, benefiting from our charitable foundation that we'd established in our father's name. I'd done more than survive. I'd transformed pain into purpose. One thing I learned through all of this, standing up for yourself isn't selfish. Protecting yourself from toxic people, even family, isn't betrayal. It's survival. It's sanity. It's choosing to break the cycle of abuse rather than passing it on. I also learned that worth doesn't come from other people's approval. I'd spent decades trying to earn Patricia's love, thinking that if I just worked hard enough, achieved enough, was perfect enough, she'd finally see me. But the problem was never me. It was her. And once I truly understood that, I was free. Justice came for Patricia Hartley. Not just legal justice, though that mattered, but social justice too. Her name, once synonymous with success and sophistication, became a cautionary tale. Her friends abandoned her. Her legacy crumbled. She'd spent her life building an empire of lies, and it collapsed in a single night. Meanwhile, I built something real, something honest, something that helped people instead of hurting them. The best revenge, I discovered, isn't revenge at all. It's living well. It's becoming the person you were meant to be before someone tried to destroy you. It's taking your pain and turning it into power. I'm Morgan Hartley. I'm 34 years old now. I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company that operates with integrity. I'm a sister, a friend, a survivor. I'm someone who refused to stay silent when faced with injustice. I'm not perfect. I still have therapy appointments every week. I still have nightmares sometimes about that birthday party, about the months leading up to it. I still carry scars from a childhood spent seeking love from someone incapable of giving it. But I'm free, and that's worth everything. 2 years after Patricia's sentencing, I stood at a podium addressing a conference on corporate ethics. I told my story, the whole truth, holding nothing back. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. Afterward, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 25, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she said. "My family business is destroying me. My father is embezzling, and I've been too scared to report it. But hearing your story gave me the courage I needed. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell the truth." I hugged her. "It won't be easy," I warned, "but it's worth it. You're worth it." That's why I share my story now. Not for sympathy or attention, but because somewhere out there, someone is trapped like I was. Someone is being manipulated by family, told they're worthless, systematically destroyed. I want them to know. You can fight back. You can win. You can rebuild. The truth has power. Justice exists. And you are stronger than you know. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to stand up to someone you love, knowing it might cost you everything? Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and speaking the truth? What would you do if you discovered your family had been lying to you for years? Leave a comment below. I want to hear your stories. I want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you're going through something similar, know that you're not alone either. If this story resonated with you, if it gave you courage or hope or just made you think, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about finding strength in the darkest moments and turning pain into power. Remember, you don't owe anyone your silence about abuse. You don't have to accept mistreatment just because it comes from family. You have the right to protect yourself, to seek justice, to build a life free from manipulation and lies. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And to everyone out there fighting their own battles, keep going. The truth will set you free. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. You are worthy. You are enough. And you deserve so much better than what they told you. Stay strong, stay true, and never let anyone convince you that your voice doesn't matter. It does. You do. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next story.